The Empowerment Show aims to equip individuals with the necessary tools, knowledge, and confidence to make informed decisions and take control of their lives. It also focuses on ensuring access to essential resources and the opportunities.
Hey, thank you guys very much. Of course, this is the Empowerment Show. My name is Kendall Stevenson Sr., and I am the host of the show. As you can see at the bottom, I got a young man here. His name is Mr. Khan, and I like to use the name Mr. Khan. I know it's Tarik. He's a representative from 194th in Philadelphia. I put a lot of accolades as much as I could, so I wanted to really shorten it down and say that he is a man of the people. He stands for the people. He stands for solidarity with the people. He's been on the picket line. He's worked with city workers. I mean, he's got a resume longer than my arm. So, let me go ahead and bring him in. Hey, good evening, young man. How are you?
Kendall, I'm well, sir. How are you?
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much for showing up for the show. At the beginning of the show, what we generally do is we have something that we like to be grateful for. So I'm grateful to the staff that I have here. I'm grateful for waking up this morning and actually looking into my wife's eyes. That was something. That's something that may not happen every day. So it happened today, and it was a good thing. So again, how are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for my family and the people in my life, and I'm grateful for our governor, Josh Shapiro.
Oh
And
man.
yes, and I'm grateful also to be doing the work of the people, and that's that as a nurse and also as a elected official.
All right, you kind of you moved ahead of me. I was going to ask you about the nurse practitioner.
Absolutely.
You way past me.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get there. What's your take on the nurse practitioners?
It's really a big part of my life. I started out as a nurse back in 2005 and fell in love with just service. I think I've always enjoyed taking care of people, and I think my work as a nurse, I continue it even as an elected official, but it allows me to stay grounded to the people and to deliver healthcare, to deliver something, to be able to improve someone's life and to be able to see it and hear from them and follow up and to continue to follow them and continue to help them and to see in real time a person get better and to help them and their family. So I've been a nurse practitioner, which is sort of the added layer. Did a master's degree from LaSalle University and got specialized training to provide family health care. And so I diagnose, treat, order tests, interpret laboratory work, and go to work once a week at the health center. And then the rest of the time, I'm serving in the role as Pennsylvania State Representative for East Falls, Manayunk, Roxborough, and Chestnut Hill in the Pennsylvania State Legislature.
Wow, we got a young lady up here, and she's fantastic. Her name is Tara Propes. She's one hell of a representative. She reminds me a little bit of you, the way you speak. Now, since we're on the talking about helping people, and in this particular atmosphere under this administration, with all the things that are going on, especially when we talk about Medicare and the different social services, how do you got any means of way of protecting us as the Commonwealth here in Pennsylvania when he starts to make these moves into this direction?
It has gone beyond the pale of bizarre and concerning. I think that was a lot of the first administration. Remember the pandemic when he was talking about getting bleach into your lungs and injecting, doing injection to clean. This man, he has no healthcare knowledge, and the fact that he is putting, not only is he delivering medical and healthcare advice, telling pregnant women not to take Tylenol, which is the one thing that will reduce fever, the one thing that will relieve pain in a pregnant woman that we know is not going to cause the harm of other medications like ibuprofen, which is not recommended, or aspirin, which is not recommended, that he would say to a pregnant woman, someone who's never been pregnant in his life, who's never practiced medicine or healthcare, to tell people not to take Tylenol because it's dangerous. Someone who's not a researcher, but worse, to put people in positions of power, such as RFK Jr., who is not a healthcare person, who is not a PhD, who's not a physician or a nurse, and that is making medical decisions that is harmful, that are not just problematic and questionable, but are harmful to people's lives. And we're seeing that with the vaccine recommendations that they're putting into place. And this is to say nothing of what he's doing with healthcare, where we're looking at over 500,000 Pennsylvanians, just Pennsylvanians losing access to healthcare because of what they did with Medicaid by taking Medicaid away from people. By the way, he's defunding Medicare, and he said he wouldn't touch it. I remember he said when he ran for president, he wouldn't touch Medicare, and he's cutting it because he's defunding it. He's cutting off the money going into the Medicare fund. So he's defunding it, so it won't be around much longer. And for people who are working that are on the Affordable Care Act, under the marketplace in Pennsylvania, it's called Penny. He's cutting their subsidies. So instead of paying $300 or $400 a month, which is expensive for a lot of people, they're going to see their rates increase by 82%. So an additional $700 to pay for their health care. So you got someone that's working a job making $13, $14, $15 an hour that's going to have to find another $700 a month to pay for their health care. And
I understand you got people working in the city that work city workers that are making less than $50,000 a year, and a lot of them are on Medicare and Medicaid, and they're going to suffer too. So not only is he hurting everyone, he's hurting everyone. His own constituency, his own MAGA people are being hurt by the decisions that he's making. And RFK Jr., my Lord, I don't know what to say about this man. I've listened to him speech, and I guess the best thing I could answer is the way he answers. I don't know. Every time you ask him a question about anything, he doesn't know. But these are the people that they're putting in place. So my question to you is, what can we do to help maybe combat this? Well, what is it that we can do?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. I'll speak one as a legislator. I'll speak second as a citizen. As a legislator and also as a healthcare provider, I'm working with other legislators and also one of my good friends in the House, Representative Arvind Venkat, who's also a physician, on bills to, number one, protect the Affordable Care Act. So we know that kids are covered under the ACA, under 26 and under, you're covered under your parents' health care. So you don't have to worry about getting health care if you're under 26. You can focus on growing your career. And, but a lot of these jobs, they don't offer health insurance, as we know. So protecting protections against pre-existing conditions. So if you have pre-existing conditions, you have high blood pressure, you have depression, you have, God forbid, a yeast infection at any point in your life. Because I've seen that people before the ACA was passed that had a yeast infection or a history of anxiety and were denied health care. That was outlawed under the ACA. We're working to codify that in Pennsylvania to make it under Pennsylvania law. So regardless of what happens in Washington, people here are protected. We're working to protect the lifetime caps. So right now there is no lifetime cap. So if you have, you have Aetna, you have Health Partners, you have Cigna, and you develop cancer, you're not going to run out of health insurance because you used it up because you were getting cancer treatment. That used to happen. That actually used to happen. People would get a letter from their insurance company and said, you hit your maximum, you're losing your health, you're no longer covered because you reached your plan's maximum. And that was outlawed under the ACA. So we are protecting that here in Pennsylvania. And so there's things we can do in PA regarding what they're doing with the vaccines. Representative Venkat and I, we have two bills. Number one, to say that because a lot of the recommendations for health insurance, what they cover, a lot of what pharmacists can do is based on the CDC. Now, the CDC has never been political. CDC has always been a bunch of scientists, right? And it's always been that they follow scientific advice. So we base everything on the CDC guidance. It determines what healthcare insurance says cover. It determines what pharmacists can prescribe. So we are saying, because of the craziness that's happening with the CDC, RFK, remember, he fired the experts and put in a clown cabinet of vaccine skeptics. And we saw they had a meeting last week, and they basically, it was chaotic. They didn't know basic things about how vaccines work and how the process of approving recommendations for vaccines, how that even works. So people have no idea. So basically, we are making it, we are putting it back in the hands of medical experts. So in Pennsylvania, we have two bills. One would say, if you're a pharmacist and a vaccine is recommended by the medical experts, by the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American College of Physicians, if they're recommending it, you have to cover it as an insurance company, regardless of what the CDC says, because they've gone political. And also for pharmacists to say, if these medical experts are saying it, these medical, like the American College of Physicians, the American College of Gynecologists and Obstetricians, if they are recommending these vaccines, you can give them, because the CDC has, they are clearly gone political. They've put politics over science, and that never happened.
So just with that politics over science, I'd just like to let people know about Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's has been around. Autism has been around since the early 1900s. Now, the Tylenol company didn't come around until around about 1955, or in the late 1950s. So this disease has been around long before Tylenol came into existence. So I don't see how Tylenol could be the cause of it. I couldn't understand that at all.
They're using junk science. They're using junk science. These are not scientific people. These are conspiracy theorists. These are people who are not well respected. These are people that, if you went on a bus, you may not want to sit next to this person. These are the people that they're putting in charge. They are not putting scientific experts in charge. And so I say that and by the way, just on the Tylenol portion, they do have data that shows that women who were pregnant with one child, and then they had another child, they've found that these women, that there is no correlation between autism for women when they were pregnant with one child versus another child. Maybe they had Tylenol when they were pregnant with one child, but during another child they didn't take Tylenol. So it's the same mother. They found zero correlation. So the science they're using is junk science. It's questionable science, and we can't put the hands we can't trust politicians, podcasters, conspiracy theorists with the health of our nation. But the other thing I was just going to add was that as advocates, as people who are not elected officials, one thing we can do is raise our voices and fight back. And so whether that's protests, whether that is putting pressure on corporations and elected officials that are enabling this behavior, that are sort of bending the knee to the president. We've seen that if people put pressure, if they raise their voice, if they don't capitulate, we can make a difference. And I think that is important for us to know, that we don't have to take this. This is a democracy. This is something that we are all a part of, and we have to be a part of it. We can't just be spectators and say nothing we can do about it.
Well, lately it's seemed to be a crime to be poor or homeless, or it seems to be a crime to be a person with some melanin in your skin. And with these people, the ICE people, recently they just had a shooting. You're aware of the shooting that they just recently had? In Dallas, Texas, they just recently had a shooting. I believe it was 4 people involved. 2 people were shot and killed, and 1 person is in the hospital. And the shooter himself also, he killed himself during that incident. I say that to say that people are getting tired. You got these ICE people running around just snatching you up and putting you in a paddy wagon and taking you off to wherever. And they don't care if you're an American citizen or not. You can scream till you're blue in the face. So down in Philadelphia, the president is talking about he's going to send the troops down there, down into Philadelphia. He wants to hit all the major cities. Now, he started out with Los Angeles, and the governor of Los Angeles decided to fight back against it and saying, well, look, you can't wear a mask. All right. We don't want you here to begin with. So there's been a lot of protests and stuff like that. Do you see anything like that happening down in Philly?
In terms of what we're doing in the legislature, that is definitely something that I am working with other legislators. I believe Representative Friel is leading on that. We're working to make sure that whatever we come up with is not a performative bill just to make people feel better, but is actually will have teeth, and that will be able to be enforced. Something that we have to be very deliberate about in writing. We also don't want to do something that is then struck down by a court. After putting in all this work and effort, we want to make sure that it has teeth. I can tell you something specifically too. I'm working, I'm leading on with a few other representatives. Is this idea of ICE doing enforcements in places like schools, places where children really need to focus on learning and preparing for their future, not being terrified. And so prohibiting these enforcements, which before this administration had been prohibited, was not allowed during the Obama and the Biden administration, but something that President Trump, in his quest to be as far right as possible and as extremist as possible, putting the health and safety of our community, particularly our students, at risk by having these actions occur in schools. So we're working to prevent that ICE immigration actions happening at places like schools, which should be safe from that, so students can concentrate on learning. But I think what they've been doing is really getting away from what people voted for and what people really care about. There were some people who voted for Trump because they liked this craziness. They were extreme. But I know, and you know, Kendall, that the majority of Americans are not extreme. The majority of Americans believe in the American dream. They believe in the ability of immigrants to come to this country, for immigrants to help build this country. Immigrants were people who built our country. My father, who is an immigrant from Pakistan, he came here with a skilled trade to help build this country, and people believe in that. And to then, be deporting, breaking up families, deporting our workforce, deporting families. This is not what people want. They when it comes to immigration, they don't want someone who is committing crimes. That's fine, and that is a bipartisan issue, by the way. And that was something that President Biden and President Obama enforced. If someone is committing a crime, and that should not be here, but they're going after the mom and pop store. They're going after the families. And what's happening is that people in rural communities, people in Pennsylvania, we are an agricultural state, that one of our major pillars of our economy is our ag sector. And we have farmers in very rural areas that are having crops die on the vine. They're having milk that is going bad. They can't, because there's no workforce. People, they're being deported, or they're so afraid that there is a shortage of work, and it is shooting ourselves in the foot. Our ag economy is suffering. So these policies, which are so ideologically driven, that are so far to the extreme, is not what people want. A lot of these folks, they voted for Donald Trump. And, he said he was going to focus on, or at least what the message that a lot of these folks was on the economy. And what we've seen is actually prices are going up. I mean, I don't know about you, Kendall, but it seems like every time I go out, I try to look to buy something. It's more expensive than it was a year ago when Biden was, and Donald Trump said he was going to lower prices on day one, and inflation is going up. As an elected official, I have to wear suits. Suits are 30% more everywhere. Everything is more expensive, and that's what people care about, and that's what we should be focusing on, not catering to the far extremists. So we need to make sure that. And as citizens, that we voice our opinions and say that, listen, we want them to focus on making things more affordable. We want to make sure that we are protecting access to healthcare, not taking it away. We want to protect our democracy, and we want our community safer. And I think on all those points, I feel less safe. I feel like we have less access to healthcare. I feel like things are less affordable, and I feel like our democracy is slipping away. And so those are things that I think, as citizens, as an elected, I'm looking at, but I think as citizens, that I know people are watching because it's their pocketbook. These are kitchen table issues that people are dealing with every day. And make sure that our elected officials know that. We need to put pressure on them to make sure that they are focused on these issues, making us safer, making things more affordable, protecting our democracy, protecting our healthcare, not doing things to make it worse and to take those things away.
Well, this is what I can say. Under this administration, the American dream, what people thought was the American dream, has kind of disappeared, and they kind of lost faith in what we call the American dream. Also under this administration, Donald Trump stood on stage and he said, "I love the poorly educated. I love the poorly educated." Now, if you look at this country, I'd say over the last 10, 15 years, the education has gone down. I mean, the quality of education has gone down. The public schools have been defunded or not really receiving the proper funding that they should, because you got teachers that have to buy supplies and so forth for their own classrooms. So I think this is done on purpose to dummy us down. You see, if we a little more education and a little more critical thinking, we would probably stop and we would read some of these issues and the policies, but they don't. What we do, or a good portion of us, is that we listen to what someone says, and that's what we go by. So they believe into Donald Trump. They believe in this cult. So whatever he says, they're going to believe. Even if you put the facts right in front of your face, because he's already put this in, that whatever they show is fake. It's fake news. The facts are not real, and only he can fix problems like this. So I don't know how we're going to solve this problem. I think education is actually going to be a big part of what we need in order to fix these problems that we have here.
The irony, Kendall, is that when Donald Trump ran, he said that he would be fighting for those people. He said that those people who did not have the college education, the postgraduate degrees, the working people, he said he would be fighting for those. And we've seen at every turn that he's betrayed those people. When we talk about wages, and they are no help to minimum wage. We are trying to get our minimum wage in Pennsylvania. It is $7.25, which is the federal minimum wage. And instead of fighting for a wage so that we can lift people up, bringing the wage up, low wage workers bringing it up, they've done nothing to help those people. Nothing. Left them completely stranded. This administration, in fact, when they had a chance to do that big bill, what did they put in that bill? They put in that bill $3 trillion in our national debt, which has to be paid by Americans, by us. So the very people that he said he would be helping, he is actually putting on their tab tax cuts for the rich. And in order to pay for those tax cuts for the rich, he's not only running up the national debt, which we all have to pay, he's also taking away healthcare from people. That's how they pay for it, because they take away their healthcare, right? They take away their SNAP benefits. They take away the jobs from the people that were working in the federal government. They've cut tens of thousands of jobs. I think it's actually close to, I think, 200,000 jobs that they cut from the federal government. So they took jobs away from these people who were working. They took away their health care. In Pennsylvania alone, it's going to be 500,000 just in Pennsylvania. It's going to be over 10 million people that are losing their health care because of this president. It's not the rich that are losing it. It's the people that he said he was going to be fighting for. So that is the irony. Food stamps, people who are getting public assistance and getting food stamps and there's the WIC cards, they are being they're being cut. We're losing in Pennsylvania alone. About 130,000 people are losing their SNAP benefits because of this administration. Sorry, I meant SNAP card, not WIC card. But he's attacking all the benefits. So the ironies, and the Department of Education, lest we not forget, the cuts in the Department of Education, which is cuts to our public schools. Those are schools. The grants that he's been cutting. Right here in my community, they cut. We helped to get a federal grant, even though I'm state government. We supported a federal grant for $90,000 for our local community center for at-risk kids to have a summer job. The federal government, Donald Trump, after it was already allocated by Congress, he froze that $90,000. These are for poor Black kids to be working during the summer. And they froze that because the rich needed that money. His donors needed that money. This is making all those things worse. He talks about, he cares about crime. Well, when you don't have a summer job, these kids who are at risk, what are they going to do?
Nothing.
These are the kids that are not committing the crimes because they're on the right track, and he's pulling that ladder right out from under them. Right. And so, just to put a point, to end this, what my point here is that, the people that he said he was going to be fighting for, he's been hoodwinking them, and he's been pulling the rug out from under them. And that's our priority is the exact opposite. As Democrats, we are fighting to help people. We're trying to make things more affordable for them, trying to get them better access to health care. And clearly, we're also trying to protect our democracy too. But helping people where they are is important to us, not hoodwinking them and making things worse.
Again, I'd like to thank you for coming on. I know you got a place you have to be, and you have another appointment in another minute. Wow. Okay. I'd just like to end by saying, LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, I think he said it best. Or you make it short. If you make them believe that you're better than they are, not only will they give you the money out of their pockets, but you can take everything else. They just give you everything else. So this is what Trump is utilizing the white supremacy by making these people poor. I mean, they're poor, but they still believe that they're better than everyone else. So they're willing to give up the social services for what they consider to be security. But I'm again thanking you for coming on, and I hope we get an opportunity to do this again. It was kind of short, and I know you got a lot of things to say. I wanted to get into the SEPR and so many things, Clear Air Act, the food banks that you work at and do. But maybe next time we'll get an opportunity to chit chat again.
I'll be happy to come back on. Thanks, Kendall. And to quote another president, we really need someone that's going to bind the wounds of our nation. Abraham Lincoln said that about the Civil War. That's what we needed. We needed healing. We need someone that is going to be uniting us because what our president is doing now is, and has been doing, has just been dividing us for pure political gain, for pure ego. And what we really need is our leaders that are going to work to bring us together. The number one priority should be making things better. It should not be political gain. It should not be gain of party. We should not be using the federal government, corrupting our powers for personal enrichment. And that's something that we need. And I hope that, our next president will work to bring things in the opposite direction, bring us back toward prosperity, bring us back to morality, bring us back together and to unite us as Americans, not to divide us. and make our country worse.
Absolutely. Again, thank you very much. I know your time is short,
Thank
so
you, Kendall.
and hope to
Appreciate
talk
it.
to you again. All right. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you very much for tuning in to the Empowerment Show. We're sorry that we're a little late. Apologize for that, we're not going to get to stay on for the entire hour. Just like to leave you with a good thought. Be kind to each other. Don't allow people to divide us. And think about like what they always tell you: treat everybody like you like to be treated yourself. And as a good friend once told me, make sure you be yourself because everybody else is taken. All right. And remember, every one of us can do something. Peace.